Some actor and director pairings seem to work perfectly together. Quentin Tarantino has a couple of actors on speed dial, like Samuel L. Jackson, but another actor that just gets him is Leonardo DiCaprio. They've worked together on Django Unchained and more recently on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Tarantino himself recalled an anecdote that proved how easily the actor understood what the director wanted from a scene. In this video, let's find out how one iconic scene came to be. First up, Tarantino let DiCaprio improvise his epic meltdown. In the dramatic meltdown moment for Leonardo DiCaprio in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, writer and director Quentin Tarantino explained how the actor improvised his way through it. Tarantino's most recent film, which was released in 2019, followed the career of struggling actor Rick Dalton, played by DiCaprio, and Cliff Booth, his best friend and stuntman, played by Brad Pitt, whose storylines coincidentally cross with those of Hollywood starlet Sharon Tate, played by Margot Robbie. Both viewers and critics gave Once Upon a Time in Hollywood positive reviews, particularly praising DiCaprio and Pitt for their performances. Tarantino says that DiCaprio's hilarious meltdown on Dalton's fictitious Western set in the movie was always intended to be improvised when he showed up on the Two Bears One Cave podcast. The director admitted that the Titanic star was even a little anxious to perform the sequence. Not something you'd expect from the pro now, is it? But the director didn't just leave him be, but assisted DiCaprio from behind the camera. The director explained that he didn't want to write down the scene, and he didn't want there to be any dialogue for DiCaprio to remember. So he pulled Leo aside and told him that he wanted him to have a major meltdown because Dalton had screwed up on his set. So he would walk in, angry at himself and no one else, and throw a massive pity party. Tarantino wanted it to sound like an improvement. Up next is why Tarantino and DiCaprio are perfect together. DiCaprio and Tarantino previously teamed up on the 2012 film Django Unchained, so Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is not their first time working together. Although DiCaprio has a very different role in the latter movie, both are excellent instances of how effective an actor and director can be when they collaborate. Inglourious Basterds, Reservoir Dogs, Kill Bill, and Pulp Fiction are just a few of the movies Tarantino wrote and directed. There's a reason why he's been regarded as one of the greatest movie makers of all time. It also makes the two a perfect fit because DiCaprio is regarded as one of the best actors of his generation since he's appeared in films like Titanic, The Departed, The Revenant, and The Wolf of Wall Street. Many of Tarantino's characters are larger than life, especially when it's combined with his distinctive language style and voice as a director. Like Samuel L. Jackson's Say What Again scene from Pulp Fiction, or practically any of Christoph Waltz's Hans Landa parts from Inglourious Basterds. These characters frequently have one or two significant scenes that really make them memorable or garner attention for the actor portraying them. A rather psychotic and self-abusive character like Rick in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is really a fantastic fit because DiCaprio seems more interested in taking big swings with his performances at this time in his career. According to Tarantino, he only intends to produce 10 films in all. Thus, his next project could be his last. Even though Tarantino and DiCaprio have only worked together on 2 projects thus far, both have been critically praised classics, making the idea of a third collaboration alluring. However, unlike Django Unchained, Rick in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood gave Leonardo DiCaprio the chance to showcase a lighter, more humorous performance, which may be further explored in Tarantino's final film if we're lucky enough to get one. That final feature will undoubtedly see the return of his favorite actors, one of which we hope is DiCaprio. Moving on, some duos just make sense. It's been stated that a performer is only as good as the director. Although this idea runs the risk of undercutting the writer's presumably more vital and impactful role, it is true to some extent. Similar to the ideal harmony of a happy marriage, it is generally a complex connection that calls for mutual respect and understanding between the two sides. We've been fortunate to see some genuinely memorable and enduring partnerships throughout the years of cinema, along with others that merely left us clamoring for more. Only the best prepared and most suited come out unscathed and swinging, and we've explored some of those pairs below. First up, Leonardo DiCaprio and Martin Scorsese. Yeah, DiCaprio is such a phenomenal actor that he can work with almost any actor, so it's no surprise he works wonderfully well with another brilliant director. The teen actor and Robert De Niro co-starred in This Boy's Life in 1993, a biographical drama based on author and literature professor Tobias Wolff's wife's memoirs. The seasoned actor was sufficiently impressed by the young man's performance to suggest him to a certain Martin Scorsese, who went on to cast him as Amsterdam Valen in Gangs of New York. 5 more critically acclaimed films would follow, boosting the duo's popularity in the movie industry to levels that rivaled even the legendary collaboration between De Niro and Scorsese in the previous years. Killers of the Flower Moon marks their return to the big screen after a 9-year absence, and what's more, you ask? De Niro is also set to appear alongside him. For cinephiles, this particular project is one they can't wait to get their hands on. Up next, Bill Murray and Wes Anderson. The cast member who has participated in every one of Wes Anderson's elaborately built films in roles of different prominence is also the director's favorite. The actor appears to be inextricably bound to Anderson's singular approach to filmmaking in a somewhat obedient way that makes him the ideal complement to the director's eccentricities. Murray frequently portrays characters that are depressed and brutally honest, acting as though they had reached a breaking point in their relationship with the outside world. His portrayal of Steve Zissou in The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou is remembered most warmly, and thanks to the popularity of 2021's The French Dispatch, we can expect more roles in Anderson's project for the actor. Coming up, Daniel Day-Lewis and Paul Thomas Anderson. It would be sinful not to bring up the late Philip Seymour Hoffman, unquestionably the best actor of his time, and the talented director Paul Thomas Anderson. When talking about long-standing collaborations, they created pure cinematic gold with their collaborations. But there's another partnership we hope to see again: Daniel Day-Lewis and Anderson's. There Will Be Blood left such a lasting impression that it's simple to forget that this dream team level duo had only collaborated once before. Even though Anderson is renowned for being picky about the roles he plays in movies, a future movie with these two likely gets greenlit. Moving on, Brad Pitt and David Fincher. In addition to the Coen brothers, Terrence Malick, and Quentin Tarantino, whose film The Hateful Eight earned the actor his first Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor, Brad Pitt has produced an impressive corpus of diverse work. A new project between Brad Pitt and the style auteur David Fincher is now overdue. Their most recent picture together, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, was released in 2008. The actor's probably best to work, which culminated in his widely recognized portrayal of Tyler Durden in Fight Club, was also created under his guidance, so there's more magic waiting to make it to the screens, or so we hope. Following up, Ryan Gosling and Derek Cianfrance. Brother Tide, Derek Cianfrance's directorial debut, was released in 1998, but despite the promise it had, it would take the director another 12 years to return to the world of narrative cinema. Ryan Gosling, who played the major part in both Blue Valentine and A Place Beyond the Pines, was featured in 2 very distinct yet equally humanistic characters. In the end, Cianfrance maintains a very unique quality in his narrative technique. It allows him to elicit from his performers delicate and vulnerable performances that seem to overcome any remaining self-consciousness. Not to mention, these roles would also coincide with pivotal points in Ryan Gosling's career, suggesting that after a 4-year absence from acting, the time is ripe for a successful reunion. Finally, Frances McDormand and Joel Coen. It's true that their collaborations only recently came to fruition, but it only highlights the level of cinematic excellence these two are capable of achieving. And there's no doubt that the couple's long-lasting marriage behind the camera has greatly benefited their on-set creative synergy. Beginning with Blood Simple in 1984, veteran actor McDormand has appeared in 7 of her husband's motion pictures. The pair's most recent project was The Tragedy of Macbeth, a black-and-white rendition of the renowned Shakespearean drama that continued their long-standing pattern of favorable critical and audience reception after she won her first Academy Award for her legendary role as Marge Gunderson in Fargo. After the success, it's no surprise that the team has collaborated again and again. Plus, it's also probably very convenient. Do you think Tarantino and DiCaprio will return for another collaboration? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. See you in the next one.